see, are we live? Looks like probably, but probably should check. Yep, okay. We're live! It is Friday, September 26th, 2025 at 5:13 p.m. Central Daylight Time. I've got to be getting close to the end of that time, although I think it's November that we get back to standard time. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. It is, we're here in Fallout 76, and it is, once again Friday for the Friday afternoon Fallout stream. I don't know where I kind of lost track of myself there for a second. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on, what's coming up, in terms of the upcoming videos. So I actually finished the next lore videos script today. That's the video covering Wilson Automatoys.
Never believe it when someone says
so I'll be recording that script probably tomorrow morning. Then I'll hopefully have the video out by Monday. It is not a terribly long script, but it is longer than the script was for Suffolk County Charter School. And there's more of it that's actual narrative this time, and less of it that's notes. With the Suffolk County Charter School, it was about 50-50, and about half of the notes was specifically upon lean, finely textured beef. So, less of that kind of stuff this time. Again, we're going to be covering Wilson Automatoys, which, of course, is the story of the toy company that produced the Giddy-Up Buttercup. They got a couple locations in Fallout 4, and they also have ads that were placed in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. And you can, of course, find the toys, the actual Giddy-Up Buttercups themselves, within the Mothership Zeta DLC for Fallout 3. So, anyway, though, after that, we'll be moving on to Fallout 76 content for the month of October. So I don't yet have a list of videos, but I do have last time's list of videos, and we could take a look at that real quick. And so what those were, so there were 4 options. The one that got voted out that was voted on, and that I ended up making a video on, was the Factions of Atlantic City. So that's gone. So the other 3 options that are still available from that, and I can use these, or I can make more for this next poll, were Senator Sam Blackwell. What happened to Senator Sam Blackwell is the video. What happened to the Blue Ridge Caravan Company, part 2. And the last one was What happened to Clarksburg. That one's a remake. Technically speaking, the Senator Sam Blackwell one's a remake, but because it'd be so different from the original one, I'm not even going to really count that one as a remake. Just, if you're not aware, if you haven't seen the original Sam Blackwell video, I showed you the actual locations to find the lore that I then reference when I'm making the video. So again, it's a very different style to how I make my lore videos now. Oh, a little piece of news. I was contacted the other day, and I went along with the application process, and I am now a G Fuel affiliate. So if you are looking to get G Fuel, you can use the code iCartographer, or you can use the link that I put in the description and get a discount when you buy G Fuel, and I get a small cut of the overall ending price there. So, or ending, what's it called? Payment that you put in there. So, way to support the channel. If you wanted to get some G Fuel, you can use that code. I don't have any yet. I've ordered some, and it should be here within a week, I believe. So, until then, as I'm currently waking up from a nap I was taking about 20 minutes ago, I'm going to be drinking an energy drink myself. And again, hopefully next time it'll be G Fuel. I think I should have it by then. So, anyway though, I can talk more about it then, once I've actually had a chance to try the product and all that. So, anyway, let's see. So yeah, again, I've given you the 3 basic topics that I currently have left over from the last Fallout 76 poll. So if you have any additional topics you'd like to see in there, I could of course just do some of the things that I currently have on my mind, which are things like, is that just my footsteps? I think so. Are things like the Glimmering Depths, talking maybe Vault 63, I don't know. I'll need to look into that a little bit more. Gleaming Depths as well, obviously. And then, I don't know, fishing, potentially. Again, I'll come up with a 4th one. If you all don't have a specific one you'd like to see, then, and again, I'll put these options up in the polls, both on the Discord and within the Patreon. So, that'll be neat to see. Oh, and the other announcement, which I think is probably related to the fact that I'm not a G Fuel affiliate, is that I hit 14,000 subscribers the other day. I think it was actually last Saturday, so that's nice. thank you all for becoming viewers, subscribing, and coming to watch my videos. I really do appreciate it. As I've said this before, if this did not at least pay for itself, I sincerely doubt that my wife would allow me to continue to do it. So yeah, again, I really do appreciate the support you all have given me over the years. So, let's see. If there's anything else I need to mention in terms of announcements. If you are following if you're loosely following, because I'm sure nobody's following it very closely, my saga of working on my car, it is ongoing, and I noticed this afternoon that I accidentally ordered a set of parts that I thought were going to be here today, and ended up actually being a 2-week lead time on that, so I'm probably going to have to fix that. I've been doing an enormous amount of work to my car, trying to replace the head gasket, which is, if you're not aware, located basically in the center of the engine, which means I have to disassemble the entire thing to get to it. The other day I did manage to replace my radiator, but when I was going back in to put the bumper back on, because the genius engineers at Chevrolet decided that you had to remove the entire bumper to access the reservoir, the actual radiator. When I was trying to put the bumper back on, I discovered that the plastic clips I'd ordered did not fit. So I am constantly in a 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of thing, where I'm constantly ordering new parts and tools all along the way. But that does not mean that I'm not working constantly on the lure videos and on other projects, and so all that stuff is still in progress. Again, like I said earlier, the video on Wilson Automatoys, the script was finished just today, and I'm looking forward to getting that information to y'all, just because it's I think it's a really great story for Fallout 4 in terms of the story of Arlen Glass, his former business partner George Wilson, and his business partner's son, later his business partner Mark Wilson, and what Mark Wilson did, having been the basically the neglected son of George Wilson, and what he ended up doing to Wilson Automatoys when he became the president of the company. So, again, it's one of those little spots of light in the Fallout universe that was right on the verge of winking out when the entire world came to an end. So, again, I'm looking forward to telling you all the full story if you haven't heard it, or maybe I can give you just an interesting look at it if you have heard the story before. Okay, let's see. After that, again, Fallout 76 videos in October. Told you the list before. Then in November, back to Starfield. And speaking of Starfield, I did a podcast recording back in May, I believe, with Jessica Starr. If you're not aware of her content, she talks a lot about both the Fallout games and Starfield games. And let me see, what's the name of the podcast again? It is, sorry, I should know this. Starfield Lorecast. Video game lore, news, and more. And she's been hosting that since, I think, January? But she took a little bit of a hiatus over the summer. We had the episode recorded, and she told me that it should be out very soon. So, look forward to that. Can't remember exactly what we talked about, because again, it has been 4 months since I spoke on that, so it could be complete gibberish. And I do have a tendency to ramble when I get to speaking about video game lore if I don't have a script, which is why my videos are scripted. Be nice if I could see the reticule on this scope, but everything's invisible. Yeah, it worked out. Yeah, so this is Clarksburg. Again, if you missed my little announcement earlier about potential lore videos, I could potentially be recovering the city of Clarksburg. Again, I did it a long time ago. I'm not as happy with that version of my lore videos as the ones I make now, so I'd like to remake that lore video. It wouldn't be a drastic departure from the existing one, so it may even be the case that if I do have a very large topic, I'm willing to bet you Gleaming Depths is actually a fairly large topic. So if I put that up there and somebody chooses that, then I may basically make that the primary video, and as a secondary video I'll do a remake, potentially of Clarksburg, potentially of something else. So, we'll see. But I hope you all are having a good week. It is Friday after all. Last Friday of September. Depending on your point of view, it could already be spooky season or not. There's a few of my neighbors that have already had their Halloween decorations up for the past 2 weeks or so. And I will say that I have, when working, been listening to Halloween music, which is just generally songs with titles that have things like devil or ghost or things like that in them, whatever Amazon Music believes to be a spooky song. So that's what I've been doing to celebrate this upcoming season. Ah, jeez Louise. Sorry, I've got a cat that just jumped into my lap, and she has a tendency to use her claws to make sure that she does not fall out. Person in my driveway. Oh, right, I've got a Amazon delivery coming in. Can't remember. Something car related. Sorry, I've set up cameras for security purposes. It's been generally pretty useful, but at the same time, it'll basically be, there's motion at your doorbell. And I'll look at it, and it's the bushes at the front of the house blowing side to side. So, windy days, I get a lot of announcements. Oh, look at that. And it's Ogwa? Yeah. Interesting creature. Oh, yeah, that was not an actual little part of the cryptid movement or something. That was just it glitching. But the Ogwa is a piece of Appalachian lore. I don't think that it was envisioned to be quite like this, but basically, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to have like snatched a little boy off a riverbank. So this looks to me like some sort of kaiju. So they kind of took a Appalachian lore and then a piece of Appalachian mythology and turned it into a kaiju. Oof. Alright. I don't think I needed any of that stuff. But I also didn't want to be killed by it while coming through here. So, let's see, what else? I feel like there was actually a little bit of stuff this week. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It has been actually a fairly great year for video games. Some of them I haven't gotten a chance to try yet. For example, Expedition 33. Really do want to play that at some point. Oh yeah, I saw Bethesda did something. They put out an announcement basically. It's like, this is our official Gear website. If it's not from this, it's not official. So I don't know if they're going to maybe start cracking down on all the people that do Etsy stuff or something, but it just, and again, maybe they're trying to make sure people know what their actual official places are to get stuff. It may not be anything related to anybody else producing anything for the, that's, you know, a product like of the Fallout universe. I will say in that area, the more and more stuff I see coming out with this lawsuit that Nintendo is waging against Palworld, the less and less I ever want to touch a Nintendo product ever again. Ugh. And this is sad because my very first console when I was a kid was an N64. Hey there, yeah, Wolverine gameplay trailer. I saw something, a little bit about that. I've not gotten a chance to watch that myself, but yeah, definitely. Any new superhero game always going to be interesting. I never played the second Spider-Man game, but I enjoyed the first one quite a bit. The first one, by which I mean the one that came out a few years ago, not the... I'm sure there are plenty of very old Spider-Man games. I'm talking about, in recent memory, the two Spider-Man games. I played the first one. I have not played the second one. Welcome to the stream, Lone Wanderer 93. Hope you're having a good week. Yes, what was that? Sorry, got notification of the actual delivery. Something GM related. Anyway, oh yeah. So again, my very first console, N64, played the original Game Boy growing up, Game Boy Color. Had a Game Boy Advance, Game Boy DS, Game Boy Advance, sorry, Game Boy Advance SP, Game Boy DS, Game Boy DS, 3DS XL. I've got a Wii. I never got a Wii U, but I do have a Switch. But I'm never touching the Switch 2. I don't know if you've been following the stuff they've been doing, but they have become so anti-consumer. It's utterly ridiculous. And the stuff they're doing with Palworld, we're like, hey, you can't have anybody that's riding on an animal. We invented that. It's like, I don't think that's true. Not only that, they're trying to make it so it's like any time you summon something in a game, that's us. We invented that. It's like, no, you didn't. You just found some idiot patent attorney who didn't know any better, and he managed to get it through. Or your attorney is a bad person and managed to get it through. Oh, sorry to hear about that. Yeah, funeral and a tooth pulling. Well, I'm glad at least today's relaxing. Yeah, that sucks. Sorry about that. Let's see. But yeah, again, just generally speaking, I'm done with Nintendo for the time being. I was considering getting a Switch 2 at some point, even if it was just something where I could play some of the older games that they've got on their service. But the fact that their online service, when you're playing with other characters, is peer-to-peer and they're still charging you for it, it's like, you're not even running servers. What is this for exactly? Anyway, not to rag on those guys too much. But let's see. Oh, yeah, there's been more Bethesda announcing more Starfield creation club content. Again, that's not really something I'm interested in because I play canonical material to make lore videos and stuff like that. And yeah, so that stuff really doesn't do anything for me. Somebody did point out the other day that the Terran Armada is not something they've trademarked. I feel like I talked about this a little bit last time. So it's possibly even just like them announcing Creation Club content, which I feel like that would be... for everybody that's been waiting for official stuff to come out on Starfield, the idea that they decided to... They would decide to basically do a big announcement about a piece of the Creation Club content when it's like everyone's waiting and waiting and waiting, it would be kind of a slap in the face. My boss is actually a Vietnam vet. But yeah, it's kind of one of those sad things where when I was a kid, like technically speaking, yes, there are still some World War II vets out there, but it is incredibly rare to actually meet them today. Because I mean, when I was a kid, they were generally already in their 70s, you know? And so the ones that are still around today are like 100 years old. But Vietnam vets, they're basically at that same point now. Yeah, I mean, we're talking 80s now, actually, on average, I think. Late 70s to 80s. So yeah, that stinks. Yeah, I think I actually saw that the last Civil War vet died in 1953, which is absolutely crazy that that kind of thing is possible. I think it's one of those things where it was like a drummer boy, because you only had to be, I think, 10 years old to serve as a drummer boy. So, but at the same time, still a veteran of a war from 1861 to 1865, and he was still alive in 1953. That's pretty impressive. But yeah, definitely one of those things where it definitely changes a generation when you lose the last of the veterans of a war. Let's see. Okay, so the other topics, again, that I had on the poll originally were Blue Ridge Caravan Company Part 2, which would effectively be covering their escapades within Skyline Valley and their outpost up here. What's it called? Blue Ridge Bunkhouse? Yes. And also, I did not yet cover what's going on at Middle Mountain Pit Stop. Hey, Lords Jugas. Hope you're having a good week. Welcome to the stream. Just playing some Fallout 76, discussing upcoming content. But yeah, this is a new Blue Ridge Caravan place. New. It's a couple of years old at this point. That's how it is. Like, when I originally started covering Fallout 76, it had been out for less than a year. And then when I started covering additional Fallout games and Starfield, it definitely means that the content that I cover is not going to be immediately fresh anymore. So it's the unfortunate thing about covering additional games, but I do like getting to cover these other parts of the Fallout universe, especially because there are links between those worlds and this one. So I got a cat that's wanting me to pay more attention to her. New quests in the game since the ghoul and fishman stuff? Not to my knowledge. I think... Okay, so there was some sort of big Fallout 76 content creator event that took place in New York a couple of weeks ago at this point. And from the stuff I've seen that people were allowed to release on that, and I was not there, but the stuff I've seen people announce on that, they're going to have their embargo on what they can talk about. That embargo ends on October 1st. So we should see more stuff. Oh, well, thank you so much. Vintovka? If that's hopefully that's how that's pronounced. Vintovka. Oh, well, thank you in the next lore video. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like the lore videos, and it's good to meet you. Yeah, nothing new since the ghoul and fishing stuff. But again, there should be announcements at the very least from the public on October 1st. So we should, and apparently they're saying big stuff coming. So we'll see exactly what that means. Like we talked about last time, there is a part of me that's kind of nostalgic for the way that Fallout 76 used to be in terms of the way the world was. And I can really feel it when I'm walking through places like this, because it really feels like the old Fallout 76 in a place like this. And it's one of those things where I'd love it if they would do a Fallout world where you're playing the original patch, where there were basically no NPCs out there. Like, they were very, very, very few and far between. We're talking like the mayor of Grafton, for example. Modus. Like, those were the NPCs that you could actually talk to. Can't wait for the public test server. Yeah. Seems like it does have something to do with Ohio. And so it'll be really interesting to see what they do. We can go take a look at that bridge. Back when I did my original video on Point Pleasant, I was actually speculating, and like early lore videos, I was a little bit more loose with the facts. I kind of did more speculations in them. Yeah, I've never been a fan of fishing content in video games, but I was a little more speculative in my original lore videos. And one of my speculations was actually that the bridge over the Ohio was originally intact before the scorching. And what happened was, again, in my speculation, was that the responders ended up actually blowing the bridge to prevent the scorched from leaking across the river into Ohio. Now, that was complete speculation on my part, but it did seem like something that the responders would do. Perhaps flee across the bridge and blow it as they went, to try to contain the spread of the scorched plague. But my point in what I was talking about, the nostalgia, is that I always do get concerned whenever they're adding new content about what's going to be overwritten. Which is why I like to do the surveil videos. I haven't done any in a few months now. I think May was the last time I actually did them. And specifically, that was to cover Atlantic City for the purposes of making the lore videos. It was a way to basically explore the content myself before getting to tell you the actual full lore stories there. So yeah, you can get all the way out to here. But again, the bridge has been obviously destroyed for a while now. Can't go this way, but I am now standing on like a chunk of the Ohio side of the bridge at the very least. Obviously can't get onto that side of the river yet, but along with that, and I think this is gone. I'll take a look. I've showed this in my... Oh, crap. I'm stuck. There we go. Okay. I showed this in my original lore video covering Point Pleasant. There used to be a Christmas tree down here beneath this bridge. Marking the Silver Bridge collapse. It happened at Christmas time. If you ever watched the movie The Mothman Prophecies, they've got basically a depiction of that bridge collapse taking place. Where once all the cars fall in the water, you can see the lights from the headlights coming up. And along with that, there's what's it called? There's like Christmas presents floating in the water and stuff like that. Sorry, one second. I'm just checking something here. Oh, something went wrong. That's what you want to hear? Okay, well, I don't know what to do about that. Anyway, sorry, I saw motion at my doorbell. And it's been a long time since I've had a porch pirate come through, but I just wanted to check and see that there was not somebody doing anything there, but can't really at the moment with an error. There we go. I will say one of my minor disappointments with the Mothman cult is, and obviously we do have the one faction that we can interact with, the followers of the true Mothman. The followers of the Holy Mothman try to kill us on sight. But it's strange that you've got this faction that's a religion that doesn't seem to be interested in the slightest in being in evangelizing their beliefs and bringing you into them. Instead, they just want to kill you. Of course, I do kind of feel like it's potentially the same sort of thing with the Molemen. Sorry, the Mole Miners. Where it's kind of one of those things where it's like, maybe they were not initially hostile, but they encountered too many people that were unmutated, and so basically from then on, and having been killed by some violent, non-mutated people, they may have basically decided from then on, we're coming out here, guns blazing every time, not taking the risk of encountering some of these guys that are violent and not meeting them with violence in the first place. So, let's see. Oh, fell through the roof. Yeah, this is another, it's a dropped thread that I kind of wish they'd pick up on at some point, and it could be something specifically related to the bridge being rebuilt into Ohio, which is that there's pieces of lore here specifically related to the responders base that used to be here. That's the reason why there's things like these cots and gurneys and stuff like that around here. This was a responders outpost. There's very little information about it, and only a few notes that you can actually find here and there. Things like search team note here. Specifically, this is from the responders. And again, it was really a dropped thread when they decided to come in and turn Point Pleasant into a home of the Moth Cult, which is a completely understandable thing to do, because again, this is the home of the Mothman sightings and all that kind of stuff. But it's frustrating that we never got any follow-up on that stuff that was here already. Obviously, there was a little bit of Moth Cult stuff that was here already, so we did get a follow-up on that. But again, the responder stuff never has gotten any follow-up. Of a Marla Queen and now trapped in a building in the Toxic Valley. Yeah, they'll do that. I remember the first time I encountered a Marla Queen when I was playing Fallout 4, and I was just like, oh my god, what is this? Because yeah, this is coming off of playing Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, and in Fallout New Vegas they're called Lake Lurks, but they look like Mirelurk Kings from Fallout 3, which basically looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon. And of course there are Mirelurk Kings in Fallout, I think they're in Fallout 4 as well, they're definitely in Fallout 76, but they definitely look more animalistic than like the creature from the Black Lagoon. But yeah, you got Mirelurks, which look like crabs. Then you got the Mirelurk Kings, which again look like the creature from the Black Lagoon, or more animalistic in 76. And then you got the Queens, which again are like some sort of like kaiju monster. It's like completely unexpected. Now obviously, like there's one of them that's part of the event that takes place at the castle when you're trying to defend it, as when it's been newly retaken by the Minutemen. But along with that, there's the ones you can just generally find in the wasteland. Specifically, I think there's one out by Nahant.
The Holy Land.
And yeah, it is terrifying. The first time you come across one of those things, especially if you're at a fairly low level and you just do not have the amount of ammunition that it's going to take one of those things down. And they're just constantly spitting things at you and spewing at the little tiny Mirelurk babies that come after you. They look like little pill bugs. It's an interesting, like, I don't know exactly what the life cycle is there. Are they all just start off as those little, like, nymphs, basically? Those little pill bug shaped creatures? And like, do some of them evolve into specifically being kings and some specifically into being queens? And all the rest of them evolve into being the crab-shaped ones? Or do they all evolve into the crab-shaped ones and then from there potentially become kings and queens? And are the kings even actually Mirelurks, or do we just kind of assume they are because they hang out together, but they're actually a specific, like a completely different species? Because they look nothing alike. Like, the kings look like some sort of fish creature, while the other ones are obviously crustaceans. I don't know. It's a very strange morphology of these creatures. Let's see down here. This, I've talked about this in my lore video, but this is, I think, supposed to be a reference to the actual real-world flood wall on the Ohio River. And they've actually got a park there too. It's one of those things. I grew up.
Forever.
So basically, I grew up in Central Texas, and the floods we have are flash floods. And to counter those, we actually specifically have the LCRA dams, Lower Colorado Regional Authority. It was created during the Great Depression, just like the Tennessee Valley Authority, and basically the whole idea was create dams on the rivers so that we can both create reservoirs and stop all the flooding. Because if you're not aware, Central Texas is part of something called Flash Flood Alley. But the Ohio has very, very, very bad floods that occasionally happen on it. And I would say, I don't know, I would need to look into the frequency of them to make any sort of comment on that. But they've had to build flood barriers along, like basically anywhere there's a major settlement, they've built these reinforced concrete walls. And they do some cool things with them where they decorate them on the other side with murals and stuff like that. So it's interesting stuff that they do with them. And there's massive, like, cast iron gates that drop in and out of the ground. Drop in the ground or rise back up in the case of a flood. It was close, but you got it. Good. I remember then Far Harbor the first time you met the giant hermit crab, and I was like, no. Yeah. No, and they've got the giant hermit crabs here in Fallout 76 too, the ones that have their tail inside the vans.
I live only for you, Holy Mothman.
But yeah, there have been some devastating floods along the Ohio and Mississippi, obviously, and Missouri. The size of the watershed of these rivers is absolutely massive. So if you get a multi-day rainstorm that takes place across the area, and it's all rushing down into the valleys and all coming together, like the Ohio can rise dramatically. I've talked about it a little bit here and there throughout the lore videos. I think specifically about Point Pleasant, maybe a little bit. Let's see, was there any cause to talk about it anywhere else? I don't think so. Because I think Point Pleasant's the only city that's actually on the Ohio that exists within the game. So, like, for example, Camden Park is actually... It's based on a real-world park that exists within... Is it Huntsville? Let's take a look. Might be Huntsville. And I was very confused the first, like early on when I was playing Fallout 76, because I didn't know. I basically saw this name here, Huntersville, and I thought it was Huntsville, like just at a glance. So I go look it up to see if it's a real place. I'm like, this looks nothing like that. And it's like, yeah, because that's a very different town. That's Huttonsville. That's not what I typed. Let's find it real quick. Sorry, give me just a second here. It's Charleston. There it is. Huntington. Jeez Louise. Camden Park is in between Huntington and Canova. And I actually talked a little bit about Canova in my video covering the passage of the Brotherhood of Steel from the West Coast. Specifically because there's a couple bridges there through that area that cover large rivers. But yeah, Camden Park, real place. But again, Huntington, not in the game. Along with that, Hillfolk Hot Dogs, which is right there. Based on the real world hillbilly hot dogs. I do like that, like, Hillfolk is kind of like the more PC term of hillbilly. And they decided to go with that here, while the real world one is hillbilly hot dogs. And it's located on the... It's just up the river. I think it's in a town called Lesage. Let me see here. I can zoom in here for a second. Yep, hillbilly hot dogs in Lesage or Lesage. I don't know. Lesage, West Virginia. Right on the Ohio River, just like it is here. But yeah, no, there's no other towns on the Ohio that are in the game other than Pittsburgh. The Pit, which is at the confluence of the Allegheny and the Monongahela rivers. Sorry about that. Been a while since I've had to think about the term Monongahela. This is this river right here, which in the real world flows in the opposite direction. Currently here it flows from north to south, in the real world it flows from south to north. It's a very large river, flows up to meet with the Allegheny to form an even larger river that is the Ohio River that comes down here. And of course that point is Pittsburgh, the point where the two rivers come together to form Pittsburgh. Or to form the Ohio. Fort Pitt originally was located at what is now Pittsburgh, which is why it is Pittsburgh. But anyway, that's not really the point of any of this. So, okay. Again, the other topic, I feel like we talked about two of them already, Clarksburg and the Blue Ridge Caravan Company. The last option, the Senator Sam Blackwell video. And again, unless somebody has something else, then I'm thinking maybe Gleaming Depths as the fourth option. So if anybody has a video they'd like to see, a topic they'd like to see covered in Fallout 76 within the month of October, go ahead and say something, and I can put it into the poll, and we can see where the votes come out. Whatever it is, I'm looking forward to talking about it, because it's been a while since I've talked about Fallout 76. And really, it's been a while since I've talked about, like, the mainstream of Fallout 76, because the last time I talked about it was specifically talking about Atlantic City, which, like, it's a cool spot, but it's been a while since I've talked about the actual, I've talked about Appalachia itself. So, what actually was the last video I produced on 76 prior to that? Let's see. Content... yeah, let's do playlists. View all. Fallout 76 lore. Oop, not that. Cults of the Mothman. And prior to that, Point Pleasant. And prior to that, Settlers of Foundation. God, that feels like 1,000 years ago. My God. When did I put that out? Like, seriously, time has been moving so weird for me lately that... Wow, that was December of 2023. Man. What happened there? When did the Point Pleasant video come out? August of 2024. Wow. Oh, yeah, that's right, because the summer of 24 was completely dedicated to the Fallout TV show. So, yeah. That really threw me off in terms of the pattern that I've been trying to... Well, I wasn't even following a pattern yet. That's been entirely this year that I've been trying to follow a pattern of Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, 76, Starfield.
I ain't stealing. I'm taking what's mine.
You're
This is our
scavenging.
land, and don't you forget it.
You're scavenging an old car. What are you even talking about stealing? There's nothing... Anyway... It's funny that they have to have him like classified as a raider when he's literally doing nothing different than if you just saw him with the title Scavenger. Yeah, there are some raiders, if you're unaware, that are basically people who have returned to the area. They're the Raiders of the Crater. They used to be the Diehards. Oh, Blood Eagles. These are newcomer raiders. Of course, I wouldn't even say that all the... I don't think it's the case that all the Crater Raiders even are actually locals. I do think Meg did some recruiting when she was outside the territory. In fact, I know she did. But I have to assume that... Well, you know, I shouldn't assume that. I was going to say I would assume that the people that claim that they are retaking what was theirs, I would say that I should assume that they actually did at one point live here, but I don't know that that's the case. They could just be basically using that as an excuse as to why they might be doing something terrible. Let's see, what do we have up here? Had a couple of ghouls that looked like they maybe had just attacked a Brahmin caravan. Except this is a dead responder who's clearly desiccated and someone that's remaining from this before the scorching. Like, this stuff confuses me. Let's read this note here. Volunteers needed. Don't just survive, thrive. The Responder Survivors Volunteers program is now offering basic and advanced training for free. Yeah, this is... Yeah, Responder Miguel. That's Miguel Caldera. So this is a body that's been here for, like, what is it, 10 years at this point? 9 years? It is, yeah, 9 years. Minimum. What's going on with that? It's kind of weird the way they've done this kind of stuff in 76, to where it's like there are corpses that are just lying around. It's a... Why exactly? I get they're trying to tell a story, but there's got to be some other way to do it. I don't even know what that is specifically. Maybe you would have to do it with remains that would be quite unpleasant to look at and maybe even violate some Chinese laws or something like that. Like, if you're unaware, the models... Sorry, I pet my cat and I think I'm mildly allergic to her. Now I've got my nose itching. But anyway, if you are unaware of the laws regarding like the showing of bones and stuff like that, if you've ever played World of Warcraft, the undead have like chunks of bone showing at their elbow, like the flesh is gone. But that's only the way it is in the West. In the East, specifically in China, like it's covered. Like there's flesh there because they can't show the bones. And I think maybe that's the reason that in '76 they decided to go, or maybe it was just fear of violating some sort of ESRB thing by making it too gruesome or something like that. But the bodies are, in my opinion, far too intact for people that have been dead for nearly a decade. Of course, at the time, they'd only been dead for 6 years or so. But still. Let's see. Like, let's go find Kesha McDermott. I think she's still out here lying by the side of the stream. And so it's like one of those things where it's like, you have to consider that either these things are here specifically just so you can find the bodies, or like, do we have to assume that that's the case, that they're just there like that? We shouldn't assume any sort of lore implications, because otherwise you have to assume that there's something wrong with like bacteria and scavenging animals and stuff like that. Because yeah, like,
Mr. Farmhands are
yes,
out
I
of
know.
control.
Thank you, Maria.
Evacuate civilians and take down those supervisors. Once they're dealt with, you'll have to reboot the server. Again.
Alright, so look at her. And again, she's got an arm that's like stuck in the water as well. Let's go find a terminal real quick. I think it's right up here in the tavern. Unless I'm misremembering it, and we have to check the one in the church. People directory. Yep, here we go. Kesha McDermott. That was Kesha McDermott. She last checked in October 25th, 2096. According to our Pip-Boy, it is now October 24th, 2105. So it has been just 1 day short of 9 years since she last checked in. Now maybe she was just hanging out here before 2102 and just died right before we left the vault. But even so, she's a little too intact. But again, maybe they just didn't want to show a decomposing corpse. I don't know. I don't know if it was done to avoid legal issues or for aesthetic concerns. God, I love Fallout Worlds. When all you want to do is just move through an area quickly and not have to concern about actually aiming when you have basically infinite ammunition, when you got all the action points you need. Good times. I thought I'd killed 2 of them so far, showing that I've only killed 1.
Unidentified intruder detected.
Maybe it's like the no child skeleton thing. There is a child skeleton though somewhere. I remember that. But yeah, it is definitely one of those things where, because people are terrible, they can't really. A lot of companies have generally started to try to keep kids out of games.
Automated message. The Forest Watch detects all supervisors down. Good job. Responder team, proceed to the Ag Center and get to the mainframe. You need to reset the farmhand targeting parameters. That should keep our people safe in the area. Be careful.
There is a child skeleton within Mass Bay Medical Center in Fallout 4, I believe. Oop. And I'm getting... whenever I'm inside somewhere, I always end up getting like a little bit of frame loss, and I don't really know why that's the case. But I've had that with Fallout 76 always.
Returning to
right.
normal operations, scanning for fertilizer.
Change this. Oh. Targeting parameters. Remove human class. I love that that's possible. It's like, It reminds me a bit of that episode of The Simpsons where it's a Treehouse of Horror where Bart's Krusty doll turns evil, and the technician comes to fix it after it's tried to kill Homer like a dozen times, and all it is there's a switch on the back that has to be turned away from evil.
Potential source found.
That's kind of the vibe I get from this machine, where it's like, oh, you just forgot to remove human from the list of things that can kill to make fertilizer. Dang. All the people who died needlessly. I gotta go through and get rid of some of these screenshots, because, like, literally I took this in order to make the thumbnail for the Factions of Atlantic City video, but this one, and then the picture of, what's her name? Female head of the mafia, the family. I can't remember her name off the top of my head right now. But, like, it's like a jump scare when suddenly it just pops up on the screen. Concerta Lombardi. There we go, that was her name. If you're unaware, this is a real bridge in West Virginia. It's the New River Gorge Bridge. It was completed... Okay, I gotta make sure I look this up specifically, because I feel like it was actually a fairly specific... I think... Okay, I might just be remembering that just the year that it was finished, which I think is 1977. Which means that it was 100 years old when the world ended. But I can't remember if it was also completed in October. Let me look it up real quick. New River Gorge Bridge. Oh yeah, that's the best part of it. Completed October 22nd, 1977. 100 years and 1 day before the bombs. Still looks pretty good. Being that it's a century and a quarter-year old and survived the nuclear holocaust. It's fun little coincidences like that when they chose October 23rd for their day. All the way back in whatever. The original game released in 97. I don't know when they actually chose October 23rd as the actual day of the bombs. This is beautiful. Feels very fall here. Feels perfect. Of course, I live in Central Texas, so it's high of 90 degrees outside right now. Our fall is about 2 weeks long. It's in November. And then after that we get to winter, which is just gray. Gray clouds, highs in the 50s to 60s, and very, very, very rarely snow. Oh, I'm over-encumbered. I didn't realize that. By how much exactly? 5 pounds. Must have been something I got at the last... Oh, nope, just wanted to drop that. This part of it? Oh, that actually got rid of it all by itself. Getting rid of the pistol. Good. It's not like I need a snub-nosed 44. Oh. Super mutant hounds. This typically means you're going to find some super mutants hanging around. I do think it's interesting that in Fallout 4, the two Wilson Automatoys locations, both the factory and the corporate headquarters, are both infested with super mutants. I'm wondering if that was a choice they made, like on purpose, or if it was just something that worked out that way. Because obviously that means you have a little bit of overlap with some of the quests from the factions that can take you there. But the funny thing is, there's actually not as much as you'd think. Like, the Minutemen will send you to the factory to wipe out the super mutants, but they'll send you to the headquarters to rescue a captured settler. But those two don't overlap between the two. It's one at one site and one at the other. Not really sure how they chose the sites for that kind of stuff, but it is interesting. Same sort of thing with the railroad, where I believe you can find Randolph Safe House information at the factory, but you can also then rescue a synth from the headquarters. I can't remember if that's a one or the other or both sort of thing there.
Don't get you, the rads will.
But yeah, so my weekend will be composed of finishing the lore video on Wilson Automatoys, which will entail recording the audio probably tomorrow morning, getting some extra filming in, and then assembling the footage probably on Sunday. And then I will also be working on my car. I'm hoping... God. Every time I look at that intake manifold, it freaks me out to think about the amount of stuff that I'm going to have to do to get that off fully. I managed to take off the fuel injector rail, but take the fuel line off the injector rail this time without, like, spraying myself with gasoline, which was just excellent. Yeah, this is the... if you're ever looking for soap, this gentleman here has plenty of it. Show you on the map. Just to the south and east of the 86B marker here, to the north and west of Camp McClintock. But yeah, my engine is now off the mount that actually attaches it to the car on the passenger side. Ooh. Got the water pump off, got the serpentine belt off. I managed to shear off 2 bolts, putting them into the water pump the other day, but thank God I was able to reach in and get them out, those sheared off shanks, with just a set of vice grips on each of them, because, oh God, there's like 4 inches in between the wall of the engine bay and the water pump. I was not going to be able to get anything in there to extract those bolts, so... Seriously, I'm so grateful that I was able to get those out with just a pair of wrenches. Or vice grips, I mean. Oh! I told my Discord this, but it's just like the hits keep coming with some, like, just home maintenance stuff. My water softener just failed this week. At the same time, my water heater's going out. So, and again, had the water pump bolt issues. I don't know what's going on with me and water this week, but all bad. But yeah, so that's been taking up a little bit of my time, but again, luckily I did manage to get the script done for the Wilson Automatoys video. Ooh. Jeez. Oh, what the? Whoa. I only saw the first one, and the other one seemed to appear out of nowhere. The other 2, I'm sure, were just on the other side of the boat. The other day, I saw somebody who tweeted out, I can't remember who it was exactly, that had been years since that they've been playing Fallout 76, but they still had to look up where the Grafton monsters could be found. Yeah, when it rains it pours, 100%. Yeah, the plumber quoted me $1,900 to replace the softener. I was like, ugh. Of course, that's if they bought it. $750 if they just did the labor. And I managed to get him to simply change the fittings on the wall so that I could do it myself, and that cost me $325. But again, it's like, then I got the water heater later this year, which is going to cost me, the water heater itself is going to be like $700 probably, $500 to $700. And then I'm probably going to still install that thing myself. I hope I will, at least. Like, it seems like it might be a pain, but I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. But it's one of those things where it's like every time you start to build the savings account, it's like, boom, boom. It's like, okay. There goes that. So, yeah, again, someone was like, I can't find the Grafton monster. It's like, well, here's a location you can always find one. In the gorge in between West Virginia, sorry, Poseidon Energy WV-06, I believe that's what it is. Yes. And the rest of Charleston, that's where you can find a Grafton monster. And then along with that, sometimes you can find one in Grafton itself during the Grafton Day Parade. Man, I've lost track of myself here. There it is. And then along with that, you can also generally find one at Hemlock Holes. Those are at least where I go whenever I need to find a Grafton monster. Let's see. There he is. He. I don't know. It. I think it is probably more accurate for any sort of monster. It's like super mutants, regardless of whatever they were before the transformation, are completely infertile and seem to lose their genitalia as well, so... Have a good weekend. In fact, yeah, I think I'm probably actually going to close things out here in just a minute as well. I was just going to see... I've never seen a face on one of these things. I was going to see if I could see anything close up, and it looks like no. Like, even... I was just hoping to maybe see, like, eye holes or something like that, but no. Gotta wonder exactly how this thing does. Does it just sense motion? That'd be my guess. The thing looks slimy, like maybe it's got some very sensitive skin. Feels every little motion. Who knows? But yeah, okay, so again, I'm going to close things out here, but what I've got coming up, Wilson Automatore's video, you'll see that by Monday. Then next month, again, Fallout 76 videos. I'll put the poll up on Discord and Patreon later, well, probably this weekend. Really, I probably should do that today. And then the goal will be to start doing the Fallout 76 lore videos. Again, currently what I've got, Senator Sam Blackwell, Blue Ridge Caravan Company Part 2, and Clarksburg. So, I will probably add Gleaming Depths to that. Just because I'm interested in seeing what happened exactly with that stuff. I've not investigated that content yet. So again, if it is that, my guess is that, and again, if you all vote for Gleaming Depths, my guess is the content there is probably significant enough that I would need to dedicate most of the month to that video. And if that is the case, then I'll probably fill up the rest of the time with a remake. Probably either Senator Sam Blackwell or Clarksburg. One or the other. So, again, after that, I still want to remake Dire Chemical, Welch, Lewisburg, Brommel, and Watoga. Lewisburg? Yes, Lewisburg. I couldn't remember if it was Lewisburg or Berkeley Springs, but Berkeley Springs is actually the first one that I'm really happy with. So, anyway, though, it's been great to hang out with y'all. It's been great to talk with y'all. I appreciate the super chat again, Ventovka. I'll be sure to thank you in the video. It took me forever to find the spot where super chats actually showed. No, super thanks for super chats. I can't remember which one. It's like hidden in a menu deep within the financial section of YouTube, and I finally found it. And so that's why I've spent some extra time these past few videos thanking the people behind the super chats and super thanks more than I otherwise normally would. Because it's one of those things where it's like, I legitimately could not find this stuff. And I'd even thought, because somebody gave me $50 in a super thank, and I could not find it. So I assumed, maybe this is something where, they withdrew the payment or something like that. But no, I legitimately just had to, go drill down through the menus to finally find it. And I apologize again for not having probably thanked people in the past for that kind of stuff. So... Anyway, though, again, it's been great to hang out with y'all. I'm looking forward to sharing the Wilson Automatoy stuff with y'all. I think it's going to be a pretty good video. And then after that, again, on to Fallout 76. Looking forward to getting back into Appalachia, because it's been a while. So, anyway, though, I hope you all have had a good week. I hope you all will have a good weekend ahead, and I will see you all next Friday in October. Have a great weekend, y'all.